Hello everyone. Today we are diving into 10 things cluttered homes have in common and what each one of them reveals about what's going on underneath the surface. Now, this goes way beyond junk drawers and packed garages. This is where environmental clutter meets emotional clutter head-on. So, let's get into it. Number 1 is the just-in-case pile or box or bag. These are things that you potentially haven't used in a very long time. But you're keeping it just in case because you paid good money for it, because you don't want it to go to waste, because you just might need it someday. What this might reveal about you is that you might be living in a feeling of lack. You might be living with that scarcity thinking and possibly a distrust in your future self to be able to manage problems when they arise or be able to allocate resources so that you can then rally and find that thing if and when you actually need that you're keeping just in case. So that's what number 1 is and what it reveals about you. Number 2 is the sentimental items that you're keeping that you don't even really like. Maybe it's grandma's teapot, but you hate tea. Maybe it's that lamp that you really just don't like the size. Maybe you just don't like the shade. All kinds of things. Now, those are just 2 small examples, but these items they're not your vibe. They're not your style. You wouldn't purchase them with your own money, but you're keeping them because you feel this obligation like you have to. It's like, it's like that untold supposed to, or that you need to do this. And again, you're keeping it because it's a sentimental thing. It's because somebody else told you, oh, you want grandma's lamp? Here you go. And you don't even like it. You don't want it. But you've kept it out of that perceived obligation from whether it's society or family. And this is truly that emotional and mental declutter in disguise as nostalgia. And again, that perceived obligation like, well, I'm doing the right thing. Number 3 is bags that you haven't unpacked in months. This could be a suitcase from a trip. This could be a work bag that you've slept home. You set it down. Maybe you made a new work bag and now that one's just kind of sitting there idle. And again, it could be literally sitting there for months, if not years. This could also be a gym bag. This is the physical version of emotional avoidance, and you're putting off processing what's inside, both literally and metaphorically. How many of these unpacked bags do you have? Go ahead and post it in the comments below. Moving on to number 4 out of 10 is the chair. Yes, I'm talking about that chair. This is the one that's holding on to the laundry, the books, the random stuff that you have no idea what to do with. And often this is kind of like the epicenter of that decision fatigue. And this is when your day is cluttered, your mind is cluttered, maybe even your emotions are cluttered. And you've got something in your hand, and you're just like, I have no idea what to do with this. So, you set it down. And that's like kind of your go-to or default mode. When you have something, you go to that chair. You set it down. If you don't have a chair, but you have stairs or a hallway, typically it will end up on the stairs or it will end up in the hallway, just in a random pile. And again, this represents that decision fatigue of like, I've got so much on my plate. I've got so much going on. All the things are cluttering up my space that I just can't make another decision, especially about something as meaningless as a random jacket. I'm just going to set it down for now and just deal with it later. Number 5 on the list is expired products in your bathroom. This is makeup, sunscreen, old prescription. I once worked with a woman who had a kitchen pantry in her bathroom because her pantry was so overflowing with food that she brought in a big bureau into her bathroom. And you opened it, and it was nothing but canned goods, and it was nothing but canned good, and it was expired. So, if that's you, it's time to purge. What these expired items symbolize is resistance to upgrading a version of yourself that's ready to emerge. You might be avoiding grief. You might be avoiding age. You might be avoiding the change that is actually taking place in your life. And because of it, you're like, no, I'm just going to hold on to this because maybe it worked at one time. And now I'm trying all these other things. But I'm just holding on to that little thread of who I used to be that I just can't seem to let go of. All right. Number 6 on the list is hiding spots that you dread opening. This could be a closet. This could be a storage room. This could be drawers. These are those spaces that suck everything in that you don't know what to do with, or you've got company coming over. So you just shove everything in that space, and it literally acts as a black hole. It just keeps accepting things, and you just put more and more things in it. And these things often represent the things that you just don't want to deal with. For instance, this could be unfulfilled dreams. This could be guilt. This could be shame. This could be, that historical version of yourself that you somehow just wish would come back. But the time has passed. You've evolved into a newer, better version of yourself. That's usually where all of these things just go to die, and just like I said, it's kind of like this big black hole that just keeps sucking things in. Number 7 on the list is guilt items. These are gifts that you never ever like. These are things that you keep because you feel bad throwing them out. But every single time that you see them, you feel a little bit of maybe resentment, or you feel a little twinge of like, I really don't like that rug, or I really don't like that candle, or whatever it is. And you kind of feel a little guilty. You feel a little bit of shame. Maybe you feel a lot of obligation, like I have to keep this because so-and-so gave this to me. This is a form of people-pleasing that lives in your physical space. Be mindful if you have this. Now, number 8, multiples of the same items. Do you have 3 staplers? Do you have 5 can openers? Do you have a dozen spatulas? This reveals a lack of clarity about what you actually need and what you actually use. And this is often a disconnection from trusting your own intuition or trusting your own discernment of what I don't like, and being able to just make that decision. I had one person years and years ago, she had 20 spatulas, and when I asked her, okay, what's up with this array of spatulas? And each one was just slightly different. And she said, well, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. It depends on what I'm making. It depends on all these things. And upon further review, over half of them still had the little sticker on showing that they weren't even used yet. And she said, well, I might use those. And I said, what if we just take these away, put them in a bag, and put them away? See if you even miss them. She was shocked. I came back 3 months later. She's like, I didn't even miss them. Let's just get rid of them. And so, this is one of the things. Do you have multiples of items? And if so, why? All right. Number 9 is unfinished projects that are gathering dust. This could be a knitting project. This could be a half-painted canvas. This could be a business course that you printed out and never started. This could be a puzzle that you just have sitting on the table, and it's gathering dust. Who knows if all the pieces are even still there? These aren't just hobbies, okay? These are reminders of what you said that you were going to do in the past but didn't do. Often people will feel shame around unfinished projects because they spent all the time, money, and effort getting all those things together and saying, yes, I'm going to this. Maybe you told people about it. You're all excited. Or maybe you just had a vision of what it was going to be like whenever you finished that particular project. And now, it's just kind of sitting there gathering dust, and you're like, oh, but then, it's like half finished or half started, depending on how you look at it. And you don't want to get rid of it when it's half done, but then you also don't really feel motivated, or you don't really have time or energy or commitment to just finish it, because maybe it doesn't even interest you anymore. And so you kind of have this emotional tug-of-war that is going on of and I've many times donated projects in mid-project, and I just wrote a note saying, hey, this was my intention with this. This is what it's supposed to be. I just don't feel like finishing it. Have at it. And I've donated it. And one time when I donated one of my things, I went to a different Goodwill way on the other side of town and my project was there. Now, I've heard that they do this, that when you donate to thrift stores, whether it be Goodwill or other places, that they just kind of spread it all over and don't necessarily keep it at that particular location. So, I thought it was kind of funny, and they actually did put it in a bigger bag and kept the note in it. So, I thought that was kind of fun. I was like, oh yay. So, that was very cool. So, alright, rounding out our list, number 10 of the things that most cluttered homes have in common is stuff that belongs to someone else. Okay, this could be boxes of stuff that are your kids if they have flown the nest. This could be things that your ex never came back to get. This could be, I'm a friend who is moving, and I'm just going to set this in your garage, and then I'll come back and get it next weekend, and they never came to get it. Maybe a neighbor was overdoing something and they left something at your space and it's still here. So these things actually represent energy leakages in your space. Your space should be occupied with your things. And when it's occupied by someone else's past, that is going to leach out your energy. I mean, think about it. Every time that you walk past that thing and you see it, where does your mind go? Oh, I wish so and so would get this. It could be I'm adding a silent to-do to your list. Oh, I need to call this person and tell them to go get it. It could be resentment because you resent the fact that that person has left their stuff in your space and you're like, oh my gosh, really? It could be nostalgia because maybe it's your children's things and they've flown the coop, but their stuff is still there and you're like, oh, I miss them. And so, it's this amalgamation of all these dynamic emotions when it's not even your stuff. So, now that you've heard this list of 10 things, which one of these 10 do you have the most of? I put them here on the screen for you, so you can see them. Post in the comments which one you have the most of. Now, let's be honest. Clutter is never just clutter. It's a mirror into what we're going through, what we're doing. Every pile, every drawer, every item left sitting there is saying something. And when you start listening, really listening to like, what does this have to say about my life? Like, what's going on that I keep putting stuff here or shoving stuff there when you can recognize what these things are telling you? I've got several other podcasts about what your clutter is telling you, and let your clutter speak to you. And if you haven't listened to that, I'll post the links for those down below. And let yourself really just take this moment to look at what is my clutter telling me right now. And what needs to shift within me to be able to let go of all this extra stuff that I'm not even using anyway? Is it your beliefs? Is it your boundaries? Is it your willingness to finally start to choose yourself and your future version of yourself? Because all the stuff in your house and in your home, in your business is a reflection of your past self, your past thoughts and actions, your fear of fear call roar. Who are you becoming? I have another podcast about who are you becoming, which is fabulous. And it helps you again to see, you know what, I've outgrown this thing. I don't really need it. I don't really need this in my space. If you want my help with this, click the link below in the show notes. We're gonna talk. We're gonna get very crystal clear on where you are, where you want to be, and that messy middle, the clutter that's getting in the way of what you want the most. And that feelings of like, why can't I get it? I'm an expert at finding those things that are pulling you away from what you actually want. So, if you want my help with this, click the link. Let's talk. If you found today's video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, comment, share, all the things. Also, turn on that notification bell so you know every single time an episode is released. And I will see you back here in the next episode. Bye. Bye.